Happy Monday, real estate operations community. Josie here and Carissa. So we were just starting to chat, and I had to pause us so that we could just bring our conversation live for you guys, right? We're talking today about what did I just put in the caption? Like, stop doing that, right? Like we all fall into this habit sometimes of doing things. It's not about doing things outside of your job scope because we all want people who want to go above and beyond, but it's about staying in your lane. I think that's going to be the message, the core message of today's kind of conversation.
Right. And just because you can do it doesn't mean you should, right? There's that. I can change my oil, but I shouldn't. Just saying. I mean,
So
let's just
true.
put it out there. My car will probably break down on the side of 75 if I do the oil change. Mind you, it's going to take me like 3 days. So I might as well spend the 75, $80 that it costs for me to do it and be done with it. And with that being said, a lot of us fall into that mindset. We think we can do it better. We think that it's harder to train somebody to do it. That is probably one of the biggest comebacks that people say when I'm like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. I promise you. And you probably said it. I probably said it. Somebody probably said it. Everybody said it. They'll say that is, it's just easier, but I'll just do it in 5 minutes and, it'll take me all day to teach somebody. Okay, yeah, you're right. I might take you all day to teach somebody. However, you got to slow down to speed up because most of the time when we have to fire somebody because they're not doing their job, it's our fault. It really is. I'm not saying all the time, but most of the time, it's because you do not know how to delegate, you do not know how to train, and you do not know how to let go. And you have that mindset that is like, oh, I'll just do it. I'll just do it. I'll just do it. And you're working somebody out of a job. So you're essentially prohibiting somebody from paying their mortgage because you refuse to let go of the things that you don't need to be doing. So,
Right. Right. I agree. And sometimes, right, like a lot, I feel like I've had this conversation a few times last week with some different agents talking about their admins because the admins weren't doing what they needed to be doing, right? And then it just becomes, well, I'll just do it myself. And I get it. The work needs to get done. And so if the person you're delegating it to isn't doing it, but then that's a different conversation. Like why are you still employing them? Why are you still paying them to do something that they're not doing, right? And so sometimes it comes back to knowing your priorities, right? So if Carissa's the rainmaker and if I'm the admin, if she's taking on tasks that I can do for her, like what she just said, she's now taking away potentially my job, right? And that's where I was saying before, stay in your lane. So things like if you have an admin type person, right? Should they be doing your TC work, your transaction coordination and things like that? And if they should be, then why are you doing it? Stop answering that email to that lender or stop answering a question about, oh, I need a copy of blah, blah, blah. You forward that on to your TC, to your VA, to whoever is supposed to be handling that for you. That's a conversation that I still have to have every so often, right, with my sister, who is my rainmaker, where not in a mean way, but it's, hey, like, stop doing that. Like, just if you
yes.
get something and they're not CCing me because you can't always control that, right? So if the lender asks you for an FHA, a mandatory form to be signed, A, reply to them and remind them to CC your TC, your admin, your whoever. And then B, you just forward that along and say, hey, can you just circulate this to get it signed? Got you, no problem. That is the
Yeah.
way to leverage and pass off, right? And keep everybody in their lane so that you can then just maximize your time on the things that you're actually supposed to be doing. But
Yeah.
to do that, you have to know what it is that you're actually supposed to be doing.
And that's key. And I'm going to circle back to what you said about, just having to forward the email. You think, oh gosh, this is an easy question. I can just answer it. But what you fail to realize is you're not only taking away from somebody's position that you are paying them to do, but you're also causing a kink in the wheel. All right. When I say a kink in the wheel is there's a process and a, procedure for everything. And if you're kind of jumping in when you shouldn't be, it's going to throw everything off for the person who should have been doing it because maybe they're waiting to answer that question or the next step is triggered by something else and you failed to communicate that you took care of it and now it's like in a disarray, right? So you do not realize the little thing that you're doing to help could actually cause more of a problem. And Josie said it, it's a lot of it is expectation. And so Josie and I talk about John Maxwell a lot. And I really live by this rule when it comes to delegation, right? Is 80%. He calls it the eight. I don't know exactly what he calls it, but it's almost like that 80% rule where he does, if it's his vision, he controls about 10% of it up front, explains what his vision is, right? So, hey, Josie, I have this project. I need this. This is what I'm picturing. This is what I'm doing. Gives it over to Josie. And then Josie takes it 80% of the way and, handles whatever she needs to do. And then being the rainmaker or the person who delegated the job, I look at it at the last 10% and tweak anything that needs tweaking or fixing. Maybe it doesn't need anything. Maybe Josie is just like spot on, which most likely is the truth. However, I am a firm believer. Once you hand something off, you guys should hand it off. Like give that person some, area to make mistakes and for you to correct them. And the other rule I have with that is if there is a problem, like I come to Josie and I'm complaining that my VA isn't doing what she needs to do. She's not doing what she's dropping the ball, she's doing all this. And Josie's like, well, did you clearly explain what she should be doing? And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I didn't. So go back to square one, re-explain, set expectations, and give them, which brings up, we just talked about 30, 60, 90, give them a roadmap for them to gauge how successful they're being within their position, because there's nothing worse than not knowing and not being able to gauge, right? So at that point, if I have the conversation and things don't change, a different conversation is going to happen next time. And so that's where it's a lot of it is you revisit. I'm sorry, maybe I wasn't clear. Maybe I was, but maybe they weren't clear on it. I wasn't clear. This is the opportunity I'm giving you to have that conversation with me and to clarify things that maybe weren't clear. Do you have any questions? If the answer is no, and then they keep doing it, the next conversation is you're probably not the right fit for this position.
Right, right. And so 30, 60, 90, absolutely. Like that's one tool. If you don't have one, right? And you can even use AI to help you come up with one. So
Mhm.
what are the tasks, right? What are the high level priorities? But then a 30, 60, 90 needs to be detailed. That's the difference. You need the high level, you need the big picture goals, but then you also need to say, like, hey, if it's, it's a VA, like they should be practicing how to put together an offer for you or practicing how to, you know, create email templates for you if that's what you want them to do. If it's going to be marketing, like what is the role that you need them to fill? And then how are you building it into their training? Because you still have to train them unless you are paying someone else to do the training, right? But then even if you're paying someone else to do the training, you need to know what it is that you need them to do for you, right? So I want to share this. We don't usually share, but screen share rather. But this was something that came up that we shared last week on the Master Your Calendar class. So the free class, you can grab the replay from our website. And I just think it's a really helpful slide, which is why I wanted to share it with you guys, right? So something that our team does to help determine work priorities. Now, this is the high level. What's your 20% if you're an agent, if you're client care, if you're a TC, if you're director of ops like me, right? And being able to have this so that if someone is not staying in their lane, then it's easy to go back to say, oh no, that's actually not my, not my lane, or however you address it. So if, for example, I mean, again, my rainmaker, she does this all the time. She'll send stuff to me and the client care, and I'm okay with that. I will reply in that case, and just if it's something that's in her lane, I'll say, "Oh, hey, Marissa, it's her name. Can you take this on and do blah blah blah," right? To help reestablish that this is her lane, this is what she would need to do. I do not need to be CC'd on those, but if I'm going to be, I want to make sure everybody understands who would be the one to take charge of this, for example. Does that make sense? So this is an example of what our team uses. And this is actually something that we print as little postcards, right? So it was laid out like this for the purpose of the slideshow, but anything that you can do to document it basically for yourself, for your VA, right? On our website, we have a TC slash listing manager kind of checklist. It's an Excel doc that you can grab under the free resources. That's another type of tool that you can use where it literally says, if you're the agent, you're doing these steps. If you're the TC or listing manager, you're doing these steps. And having something like that, right, for the different roles, you just need to be able, again, to just have it documented. You need to be able to give that direction, because it's more to what Carissa said then just maybe you didn't show them, but did you meet them where they are? Because if I am a hands-on learner and then you just sat there and you explained it, but maybe you did the whole thing, I didn't retain it because I'm hands-on, and I got lost in my thoughts because you weren't pulling me into that conversation
Mhm.
well enough, right? Or maybe I'm more visual. Did you give me, not just tell me what to do, but did you send me an email, or did you give me a sheet or something that actually has like bullet points that I can follow? Because again, whether while I heard what you said, you like did you make it fully within my power to do my job to the best of my ability, right? And so that you stop doing what you shouldn't be doing as well. um that's not in your role. And then that goes both ways. We're directing a conversation for like agent to their VA, but if you are the VA and if your rainmaker, I'm saying VA, if you're the admin ops, whatever, and your boss, your person is asking you to do something that really is outside of your scope, don't be afraid to speak up, not necessarily push back, depends on what the situation, what they're asking you to do, but to give that feedback, right? So, for example, at the beginning, Val used to ask me a lot to do things that would pull me out of the office, whether it was, I don't know, covering an open house, a broker open, or whatever the case might be. The more that I have to be pulled out of the office, the less time I can be doing all the things that you need me to be doing that are going to be computer based, right? So if I need to be going to pick up a lockbox or do different type of runner activities, then you just need to understand that you are impacting my ability and capacity, right, to be able to do all of these other things that we've talked about. So I can't do marketing if I'm driving. I can't do whatever, right, if I'm in the car, if I'm on the go. And so we had to kind of shift that over time, right? And so that's an example of, make sure that you speak up, because they might not be realizing that they're the ones putting that burden on you to keep you from being able to do the things that they need you to do.
No,
Make
you're
sense?
right. And empowering that conversation, I know it could be intimidating, but it is actually a very easy conversation. And you just put it back on them because if they're dictating you to do XYZ and your tasks are already taking up 95% of your day, you just go in and you let them know what's on your plate. Hey, Josie, I have XYZ going on today, and you asked me to do this. What do you want me to put off? What is not getting done? And you let them choose. And when they see like, oh crap, I can't do all the stuff that Josie's doing, or I can't have somebody else do what Josie's doing, it's easy for them to say, um, oh, you know what, Josie, never mind. I'll get such and such to run out and get that lockbox, or I'll get my teenage son to do it, or whoever it is, because they realize that that task is something that quote unquote anybody can do, but your tasks are not necessarily in that same category. So it is easy. Just let them make the decision. You just let them
Right.
know what you have going on.
Exactly. And actually one of the things that Carissa said to me a long time ago, which I love, the idea, right? So if because being in the op seat, and we run a team. So it's different if you're a solo agent, but we run a team. So I have multiple agents coming to me with different requests and questions and things like that. And a lot of time it's, if it's event specific, right? I am an events person. I run the events for the team. I do the marketing for the team. So if they have an idea, rather than just trying to text me or call me and catch me off the cuff when I'm doing 1,000 things, right? I remember Carissa saying like they have to send an email, or she'll push it back, so to speak, to say, "Oh, I love that. Send it to me in an email." And then like give me the proposal, if you will. So make them do some legwork as well before they just dump it at your feet and want you to kind of take care of it.
Yep.
So what's the date? What's the venue? Who are you planning to invite? Is there a budget? Do we need to, whatever the details are. And then if it's important enough to them, then they'll do it. And if it was kind of just a whimsy, like, oh, like you're not
Right.
gonna do it, I don't want to do it, then they're gonna drop it.
You weed
And then
out,
okay,
tell me you don't weed out like 95% of those requests.
right, right.
You
Or
do.
it'll come back up 3 months later. Okay, cool,
But
right.
that's the thing is they don't realize you're one person to many, right? And while their ideas are great, a lot of the time they're just that. They want somebody to implement. Now it's your rainmaker, it's a different story. But when you do run a team and you have 12 agents who are coming at you every day, I want to do mailers for this neighborhood. I want to go to do an event at this place. I want to do this. Those are all great ideas because I have this saying, I don't say no, I just say it in a way that it puts it back on them. So that is a wonderful idea. I love it. Send me the details and then we'll set up a meeting to see what we can do about that. Because I'm not doing all the work. You have to show me that you are going to work for it. And most of the time, they don't want that. They want to send out the mailers just to send out mailers, and that's a form of lead generation. So you will take back the power, but you're giving them choices and you're empowering them to do their job, essentially.
Right, right. And we had an agent last summer who had this idea, this 90-day home buyer challenge, and I love the idea. He brought it to me and I gave him a couple tips. Okay, well, when you work that out, you come back to me. I'll help with marketing or whatever. He didn't come back to me. I love the idea and I didn't want him to feel discouraged, so I followed up. I'm going to do the work until you're ready, right? But I kept following up to be like, hey, did you make any progress on that? Like, I didn't get anything from you. Like, I really love the idea. Like, do you need any help trying to figure out what to do? Because then we can set a meeting on the calendar and I can help talk you through that. That's different. Until the point where he finally was like, you know what, you're right. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna send you the email. And then he did, right? This was kind of what he wanted to do, and how could we sort through that, right? And so it is not meant, like what Carissa said, it's meant to take back your power and your time, but is also meant to empower them who are trying to
Right.
to be part of that conversation. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, hopefully this was a helpful conversation for you guys. We just love talking about whatever sorts of random things, but this was just one that kind of just popped up today that we thought might be helpful to kind of think of different resources that are at your fingertips for staying in your lane. It's the nicest way I could think of to say it, right? Things not to do and things to do while you're in your job role. So yeah.
Yep. Don't be afraid to delegate. Don't be afraid to slow down, to speed up, because guys, I know it feels easier to say, I can just do that in 5 minutes. Like, but you'll be doing that forever for 5 minutes if you don't train somebody. So sometimes you do need to bite the bullet, sit down, spoon feed it for a second. And then I promise you, from someone who is a control freak, I promise you, when you let something go and you know it's being done correctly and efficiently and on time, it's the best feeling ever, guys. Like when you can really trust that the job is getting done, it is so amazing. Like it is. So trust and believe. I'm empowering you to take back your power today and don't do things that you shouldn't be doing.
Here, here. Have a great week, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.